We got to be done by 7, yeah.
Good evening. My name is LaTanya Reeves. Commissioners. Good evening. My name is LaTanya Reeves, and I'm the chair of the Community Commission on Police Oversight. Before we begin, I want to offer a friendly reminder to all members, staff, and the public that these meetings are broadcast live to enable greater public participation. These broadcasts include real-time captioning as a further method to increase the accessibility of our proceedings to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. Additionally, before we proceed with our roll call, I'll note that we have new commissioners with us today. If my colleagues would indulge me, I think we should do a quick round of introductions to welcome them. So we can start just doing quick introductions, starting from my right with Ward 1, and we'll work our way around just to get everybody in, just in case.
Yeah. Mike McElhenney, Ward 1.
Thank you.
Mara Shanfield, Ward 2.
Melissa Newman, Ward 4.
Jennifer Clement. Sorry, I don't have a voice. Ward 5, sorry.
June Elizabeth Palmer, Ward 6.
Chris Baker, Ward 7.
LaTanya Reeves, Ward 7, mayor appointee.
Paul Olson, Ward 3, Vice Chair.
Bridget Stewart, Ward 8.
James Canaday from Ward 10.
Eric Bartz, Ward 11.
Lewis Smith, Mayor's appointee.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to call to order this regular meeting on Monday, August 11th, and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Commissioner McElhenney.
Here.
Shanfield. Here. Newman.
Present.
Clement.
Here.
Palmer. Present. Baker.
Here.
Stewart.
Present.
Zyla is absent. Canaday.
Present.
Bartz.
Here.
Inderly is absent. Williams Johnson is absent. Smith.
Present.
Vice Chair Olson.
Present.
And Chair Reeves.
Present.
There are 12 members present.
Thank you very much. Let the record reflect we have a quorum. Commissioners, the agenda for this evening's meeting is before us. I'm not aware of any proposed amendments to the agenda, so let me ask if there are any amendments to the agenda from commissioners. Seeing none, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Thank you. We have a proper motion to adopt the agenda as presented. The clerk will call the roll on the motion to adopt the agenda.
Commissioner McElhenney.
Aye.
Shanfield.
Aye.
Newman.
Aye.
Clement.
Aye.
Palmer. Aye. Baker.
Aye.
Stewart.
Aye.
Canaday.
Aye.
Bartz.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Vice Chair Olson.
Aye.
And Chair Reeves.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes.
Thank you. The ayes have it, and the agenda is adopted. Next, we have one set of minutes to accept from our July meeting. May I have a motion and a second to accept that set of minutes?
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. We have a proper motion to accept the minutes. The clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner McElhenney.
Aye.
Shanfield.
Aye.
Newman.
Aye.
Clement.
Aye.
Palmer. Aye. Baker.
Aye.
Stewart.
Aye.
Canaday.
Aye.
Bartz.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Vice Chair Olson.
Aye.
And Chair Reeves.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes.
All right, thank you. The ayes have it, and the minutes have been accepted. Next in the order is the public comments. We'll open the floor to any comments from the public, giving each speaker 2 minutes to address the commission. We'll be taking speakers in the order they've registered. If you wish to address the commission tonight and haven't already done so, you may register with the clerks at the side of the dais. If any speaker has printed materials, please give those to the city clerk. We also invite folks to submit written comments using the forms available from the city clerk to be included in the public record as an alternative to speaking at tonight's comment session. Each speaker will be given 2 minutes to address the commission tonight. We have a timer to assist speakers right over here. With that, I'll open the public comment period. And our first speaker is, I'm so sorry if I get this wrong, is it Maya I'm so sorry. Is it Albright? Oh, thank you.
Hello, CCPO, and welcome to the new members. My name is Maya Albright, and I'm a resident of Ward 2. And I love my time in Minneapolis, but I wanted to come speak here to the board because I don't think enough people do public comment. So I just want to raise the concern over the Minneapolis Police Department officer Mark Hanneman, who is currently leading the use of force training for the MBT. I think that he is pretty concerning to be leading this training, considering he is the officer who killed Amir Locke during a no-knock raid at the downtown Minneapolis apartment 3 years ago. And now he's a sergeant leading a use of force training when in 2022 he shot and killed Locke within seconds of entering his downtown apartment on a no-knock SWAT raid. Amir Locke was essentially executed upon awakening within 9 seconds of the SWAT team entering his apartment. If Hanneman is one of the best officers to be training and leading this training, why was Amir Locke killed? And so I think it really brings into question the people who are leading these trainings. As you think of what types of trainings you would like to have implemented, I think this really reveals the overall culture at MPD if they're willing to put someone like this in lead training position. So I would really like that to be taken into consideration, not only the trainings that are implemented, but the people who are leading these trainings. And really reevaluate what those use of force trainings look like, and ensure that no-knock warrants are not being used, because this is an absolute tragedy that should not happen again. And what happened to Amir Locke is unacceptable. And I hope that you all think of him tonight and carry forward a Minneapolis Council and Minneapolis Police Department that has more justice when it comes to the force that police officers use. Thanks.
Thank you. Next up, we have Rick Crisping.
Hi, this is my first time here, so I had read in the paper just what the woman said prior to me. We don't know each other, but I'm here for the same reason. Love to hear a conversation about MPD's decision to assign to their own de-escalation and use of force training group officers who have had or currently are in court cases regarding their actions. These actions to date have cost taxpayers here from Minneapolis over $2 million. And this is the folks who are doing the training about de-escalation techniques and use of force. I don't think I need to say any more. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further, there's no further public comment, so we've completed all public comment and we'll close the public comment period. The next order of business is the election of a chair and vice chair for the next year, as provided in our enabling ordinance. I'm going to turn this portion of the meeting over to the clerk to administer the elections for our officers. Clerk McKeague.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In terms of our procedure, I intend to administer the election of both the chair and the vice chair tonight, and we will follow the same procedure for both of the offices there, and that procedure will be as follows. First, I will open the floor to any nominations. After all of those nominations have been made, the nominating period will then be closed. Once that nomination period is closed, no further nominations will be accepted at that time. After the nomination period is also closed, we will proceed to vote by a roll call vote, and there will be a separate vote on each nominee, and we will consider and act on each nomination in the order it was received. Once the voting will be done by roll call, and the nominee who receives the majority of the vote will be declared the winner of that office, or of the election. Are there any questions from any of the commissioners? Go ahead.
Will there be a time for discussion?
Well, I will accept, we'll do the nominations, and then we'll kind of have comment period, like before the votes.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Nope. Okay. With that, I guess we will just proceed to the election of the chair. Does anyone want to make a nomination?
Reeves.
I would like to nominate Reeves to keep as our chair.
Any other nominations? No? Okay. I will close that nominating period. Before we proceed to the vote, I will open the floor to a general discussion. Are there any comments from commissioners on the nominations? Comments, questions? Nope. Okay. Seeing none, we can proceed to vote for the nomination of the office of chair. And McElhenney. Oh, sorry, I forgot to. So we're voting for Reeves to be the chair.
So, yes, no, aye.
Yes, aye or nay.
Okay. Aye?
Shanfield?
Aye.
Newman?
Aye.
Clement?
Aye.
Palmer?
Nay.
Baker?
Abstain.
Stewart?
Aye.
Kennedy?
Aye.
Bartz?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Olson?
Aye.
And Reeves.
Yes.
All right, there are 10 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 abstention. And you, Chair Reeves, are still the chair.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we will move to the office of the vice chair. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
Yes, I would like to nominate Commissioner Olson.
All right. Any other nominees? Going once, going twice? No one? All right. Hearing no further nominations, I will close that nominating period. I'll open the floor for general discussion. Is there any comments or questions from the commissioners on the nomination? Nope. Okay.
Does Olson have to accept the nomination? Like, do you accept it? Like, you're the only one we nominated, so.
Sure, if that's necessary, I will.
Oh, perfect. That's what I like to hear.
All right. We can proceed with the vote here then for Vice Chair Olson to stay in his present seat. Commissioner McElhaney.
Aye?
Shanfield.
Aye.
Newman.
Aye.
Clement.
Aye.
Palmer.
Nay.
Baker? Abstain.
Stewart.
Aye.
Candidate.
Aye.
Bartz.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
And Reeves.
Yes.
Okay, there are 10 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 abstention, and Commissioner Olson, you are still the vice chair. Congratulations to both of you. Would either of you like to say a few words?
I'll just say thank you. I look forward to working with you all as we continue the work.
Likewise.
All right.
Excellent choice.
Madam Clerk, I'll just continue.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. The next order of business is reports. We'll begin with the update on the Chief's performance review. This will be given by the Community Safety Commissioner, Todd Barnett. Welcome, Commissioner Barnett.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioners, for letting me be here. Just one question, Chair. just to know if I should include this in the brief comments I have. Has the last time I was here, there was a question about public comment. Did that get resolved, or should I?
Please address it.
Address it in?
Yes,
Okay,
thank
I
you.
will do that. Thank you for that. I'm Todd Burnett. I'm the Commissioner of Community Safety for the City of Minneapolis. I'm here to follow up from the last time I was here to talk about the performance review of the police chief, in which this body will give input. I've consulted with the city attorney's office. I think the civil rights department's had some input, as well as our human resource department. And here's the process that we've come up with. I will offer to each commissioner individually to receive from them feedback. I'll prepare standard questions for the feedback session consistent with the department head's performance evaluation, but specifically tailored for the chief because he's just in a different position. So the questions would be directed towards his duties and responsibility. I will distribute these questions prior to meeting with each of you. I will take notes during the session. I will consider all of the feedback for the chief's performance evaluation. The things that I will look for after meeting with each of you, if you choose to meet with me, will be what themes are carried out throughout the process of receiving feedback. I'll provide that feedback to the chief. What I will do is, with the normal process throughout the city for all department heads, I will circulate the questions to you in early November and set up these feedback sessions. That will allow me plenty of time to get the feedback by the end of the year. All of our performance evaluations are done during the first quarter of each year, so this will be consistent with all of the other department heads and employees in the city. When it comes to public comment, what I've been able to find out is that as far as city employees are concerned, and that includes department heads, the city does not include any participation from the general public in a performance review process. And therefore, it's my understanding that this body cannot take public comment for the chief's review. What I will say, and I alluded to this the last time I was here, and I'll say it again, and this is why the last time I was here, and it still carries true for me today, that I am still excited about your participation in the process, because each of you are community members, and that you all bring a unique perspective that I think you gain from your experience of being part of this oversight body for police, the review panels that you sit on, and you have a perspective that I think will help me in the evaluation of the chief. So I look forward to working with you, and that is the process that we came up with. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Commissioner Kennedy?
Thank you, Commissioner Burnett. I just wanted to follow up on the comment you just made at the end there about public comment. Yes. I think I partially understand where the comment's coming from, but I'm a little confused about how we're intending to put this into effect. I guess what I mean is, to my knowledge, we don't operate any limitations on what members of the public can comment on during our meetings or when we offer public comment. So am I correct that if members of the public want to comment to this body about issues of the police chief's performance, they're free to do that?
Chair, Commissioner, I think what you're asking me is, can members of the public, I think just like earlier before I came up here, make comments? I think they can, but I would refer to the city attorney because as far as the actual performance evaluation, my understanding is that I don't want to violate any of the Minnesota Government Data Privacy Acts, and the city attorney could speak on that much clearer than I could.
Hi,
Attorney,
Samantha Fellini, Assistant City Attorney. So to answer your immediate question, yes, public comment is public comment. So whatever people say in it, they are welcome to say in it. We cannot set a specific meeting to invite specific public comment for specifically the chief's performance review, which is what he is referring to, the commissioner is referring to. But should individuals come to your CCPO meetings and offer public comment, they're welcome to offer public comment on whatever they'd like.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Baker.
It seems to me not soliciting public feedback on the performance of the chief is not in line with our goal to have civilian oversight of the police department. I mean, in fact, like, there seems to be a massive disconnect. I understand that there'd be privacy issues with sharing personnel data out to the public, but the public is experiencing the impacts of his decisions every day. And if we're not querying them about those impacts, what are we doing?
Chair, Commissioner Baker, the last time I was here, I think maybe 2 or 3 of you asked questions about being able to make public comments. I went back, I checked with the city attorney, came up with this process because I was told that that's not the role. That's all I can say. I think, like I said earlier, the city attorney has spoken. I'm not legal counsel for the city. I'm not trying to shirk any responsibility. But what I can tell you is that the chief of police for the city of Minneapolis, no matter who it is in the public spotlight every day. I agree with you that there are policies and procedures that affect our residents and visitors every day here. I am aware of that. There are plenty of times, either through the city council, whether it comes from there, from the mayor, from private citizens, they have no issue with providing their feedback, whether it's positive or negative. I think that there's a breadth of information that's provided to me that doesn't just come to me like any other one of my department heads. So, for instance, you don't really see the fire chief in public. So, you know, there's some questions about some things that happen, whether there's a fire investigation or something, but it's not very visible like the chief or my director of emergency management is not very visible. But the chief's visibility in public is something that I am aware of, and something that I think there are issues that come up quite often in which there's discussions throughout the year.
Commissioner Burnett, can I just ask you a
Yes.
question for clarification? So when you say public comment, so for example, if anyone of the commissioners here was talking to community members, let's say Commissioner Baker was at a Ward 7 committee meeting, and they were talking about the chief's performance and whatever they wanted to share, and he gets his interview time with you in November, and he brings those things forward, he can bring those things
Yes.
forward. So I think when we say public comment, I think they just mean like the attorney said, having a public comment and everyone coming to talk about the chief's review. But if you guys talk to the community that you're representing in your different wards, and you want to bring that information forward, you can bring that information forward in your meeting with the commissioner. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. This one, Commissioner Olson.
So I have a question on the statute and the powers of the commission, and wondering if this program where the contributions of individual commissioners is what you're considering is consistent with the statute or the ordinance that says the commission as a body should contribute to the annual performance review, because that connotes to me a little more authority or weight to a participation.
County Chair, Chair Reeves, Commissioner Olson, I did consider taking in comments from all of you at once. I did consider that. But I thought that it would, even though it'd be more time for me, I thought that it would be important that each commissioner had time to sit down and talk about what their specific perspectives were on the chief's evaluation. I won't share names or anything like that. This is, I mean, the evaluation process and the feedback that I get, I'll provide that to the chief. So I wouldn't say this is what a particular commissioner from CCPO said, but I think that for meeting with each of you, that I will receive information that will be consistent. If there are isolated things that come to my attention, I think I'm well equipped to deal with those situations as well. But I personally thought in consultation with my team and also bringing that forward to the departments I mentioned earlier, that these individual sessions I thought would be more meaningful.
Thank you. All right, so we've exhausted all time on this topic. Were there any other pressing questions? And if so, we need a motion to extend the time.
I'd like to create a motion to extend the time, maybe 2 minutes.
All right. Is there a second to the motion for 2-minute extension?
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. We'll do a voice vote. If you will indulge me, everyone in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Commissioner Newman.
Just had a question regarding the chief's performance review. I know you're asking certain folks to chime into this review. And what methods are they going to reach the public? Is there a platform for the public to comment regarding the chief's review, and on what, I mean, they may be created, but what social channels? And I don't know if it's via email or an opportunity for a forum. And in that light as well, too, is that any of that taken account regarding his overall performance review?
Chair Reeves, Commissioner Newman, the city does not accept in performance evaluation comments from the public. And what I stated earlier, I understand the visibility of the police chief. Mm-hmm. And I think that in this situation, we consistently see whether that's from people directly contacting myself or council members or the mayor's office or through any of the other complaint processes that we have in place. I think we get a certain amount of public feedback that we don't get for other department heads, if that makes sense. I get the idea that I cannot seek public comment, but I think that the chief's visibility gives a lot of feedback throughout the year. And I think there are multiple times throughout the year from different incidents that there's discussions that happen from that, if that makes sense. I think with any employee who's working, who has a supervisor who touches the public, there's always some feedback that's given.
For sure.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we exhausted time again, so seeing no other hands, thank you very much, Commissioner Barnett. Right. We'll ask the clerk to receive and file that report.
All right, thank you.
Right, thank you. All right. We'll begin with the report from the Office of Police Conduct Review, which will be presented by Director Fujisawa. We've allocated 10 minutes for this report. Welcome, Director.
Good evening. I'm Russell Fujisawa, the Associate Director of the Office of Police Conduct Review. Just very briefly, we'll be touching on just a quick background for our new commissioners, updates, our usual intake and administrative investigation updates, as well as our update on review panels. As you know, OPCR, the Office of Police Conduct Review, is responsible for handling, receiving, and investigating complaints of misconduct lodged by members of the public against officers of the Minneapolis Police Department. Really, our task is to receive these complaints, triage them appropriately, and where appropriate, investigate efficiently and effectively in a timely manner as outlined by the settlement agreement, but also being responsive to the public and really driving forward the reform process. Looking at our intake unit, I think you can immediately see just the increasing number of complaints that our office is handling over the last 9 months. Even compared to July of 24, our total contacts was just under 30 versus this past month, July of 2025, we fielded 103 contacts. And I know complaints are distinct from inquiries in that complaints touch on misconduct and require a deeper review as it relates to policy, personnel, et cetera. But contacts and those inquiries require our office to use a lot of manpower, a lot of still investigative capacity to determine appropriate jurisdiction, to refer those out, to get support for individuals that may be facing police misconduct or totally unrelated issues in other jurisdictions or municipalities. This is a service of our office, but it is an enormous time commitment and limit to our capacity to work through those intake complaints and subsequently on the investigations. So that is why you see we have 110 complaints that are currently in our queue. Of those 110, 74 are beyond that 30-day mark that is a requirement within the settlement agreement and the consent decree. 26 of those 74 are currently assigned, but you see that this is obviously a numbers challenge. Of the complaints, though, the ones that do remain in compliance under that 30-day timeline is 36. The average time that a complaint sits in intake before it is reviewed and presented to determine the routing, that's approximately 55 days. But sort of the silver lining here is that the investigative time, once a case is assigned, once a complaint is assigned to an intake staff, is only 23 days. So that number indicates that our work and our review of intake complaints is in compliance with the settlement agreement. It's really just us battling through a large volume of complaints. At last month's CCPO meeting, it was asked to give, if possible, a breakdown of complaints received in the past month, specifically looking at the date on which the incident occurred for all complaints that were received in July. Taking a look here, you can see there is a pretty significant range of incident dates tied to complaints that were received by our office in the month of July. Still, I don't think this answers the question. I believe it's from you, Chair Reeves. I don't think this answers the question of, is this because civil rights and the Office of Police Conduct Review have increased community engagement, have a more significant presence in the community, have increased the means through which people can file complaints? Or is this because misconduct is still occurring or is on the rise, in line with these numbers here? We can't answer that fully, and with the data that we have, we can provide you this to give you a sense of when these complaints originate. Obviously, a majority fall within the month of July, but we also have ranges. We have dates going back to 1986. We have prior to the settlement agreement, prior to the murder of George Floyd. So it's very much this is very emblematic of the challenge that OPCR faces, right? We're looking at cases and incidents that predate many of the systems that we currently use to conduct our investigations. the recall from the complainant and from officers, if these become investigations, that is a challenge, that is a barrier. There are just a number of challenges around the origin of our complaints, but that is also the task that we have for our office. And so this doesn't quite answer the question, but it should give some context and some background to the complaint numbers that you saw on the previous slide. Moving towards our administrative investigations, obviously the work on the backlog continues. You can see that only 27 cases remain assigned to investigators, and I can say that a majority of these are due to be moved into the supervisory review phase in the next 2 weeks, with the goal of completing as many, if not all, by the end of August. OPCR investigative work, that is. Looking at our next bucket, our next time bucket, you can see from May 24th, 2024 to October 28th. This is the next priority, and already you can see there are current assignments that sit with investigators, cases that have already gone through the investigative and report writing process, sit in the review panel, or have gone through a review panel and sit with the chief. So we are already working on these cases in addition to completing the work on the backlog. This final bucket is the current cases, many of which we have here that are out of compliance with the settlement agreement and consent decree terms. This is the following challenge, right? And I think we've talked about this previously, but staffing up within OPCR, clearing the backlog, that positions us well to have a rebalancing, a reassessment of capacity to address the 110 complaints that sit in intake in a more timely manner, especially since the number of investigations that remain unassigned is approximately half the total volume of the backlog. So we obviously have much more capacity once we complete that work, and we know where we need to focus it. Just looking at review panel, this is just 2025 breakdown of internal affairs and OPCR cases that have gone to review panel. You can see there's just a breakdown of scheduled, rescheduled, and completed cases. This just gives you a sense of what was on the calendar versus what actually happened. And this is helpful in context of this slide, which gives 2024 numbers compared to what we've done so far in 2025. And I think nobody is surprised by the numbers here and the work that has been put in by OPCR staff, specifically on the policy and research side, with Linda Zhang and Shanice Watts, really helping to establish set dates, provide those materials in a timely manner, and for us to conduct those review panels in a consistent and effective way. And so you can see that we've already doubled the total of cases that were reviewed in 2024, and it is only August. Even with a slower month of August 2025, we still have a number of months and additional new commissioners here, as well as the support of the MCCR commissioners, to continue working through the volume of cases that are in queue, but also that will be coming through supervisory review from both internal affairs and OPCR. And with that, I can take any questions.
All right, Commissioner Baker.
Going back to your slide 4, the intake, this slide, what I would be very curious to see is what is the trend? Are we getting more reports than we were in a 3-month period previously that are current? When we just have the previous slide and this slide, but we don't have that data collated or like cross-tabbed, we can't see, are we getting more or fewer current complaints? And that, in my mind, is how we know if the training and the cultural change is beginning to take hold.
Yeah, and noted we can start to include subsequent data in subsequent reports. I will say it'll still be a challenge, even just anecdotally from seeing the nature of the cases. Obviously, we can't speak to the specific complaint data right now, but I still see some challenges in connecting those dots, and I sort of caution to do so. I mean, obviously, I would like to find the answer to this question so we can focus where appropriate. But yes, we can absolutely provide that data and try to paint a more comprehensive picture.
Thank you.
Yep. Commissioner Kennedy.
So thank you, Director Fujisawa. We have limited time, so I will acknowledge you may not have an answer to this question. So I think you heard we had 2 public commenters who raised questions about use of force training. I don't know if OPCR is able to answer or provide any update on that, but I just want to recognize that that question is out there, and to any of the city staff talking to us tonight, I will have the same question as to whether you have any information to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. And as OPCR and civil rights, we do not have any involvement with personnel decisions that are made through the police department. So really, misconduct investigations is where we stand.
All right, thank you. All right, we've resolved all time, but I see a hand up. Commissioner Newman, did you want to make another motion to extend time to ask your question?
Sure, another motion, please, for 2 minutes to extend a little bit of time.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Commissioner Newman.
Hello, my question is regarding the complaints. If you have received a complaint from a community member and there's not enough information, I haven't personally done a complaint through, so I don't know if there's required fields. If things are missing, is there someone from your office that will reach out to that person that's making this complaint, as well as in these graphs, are those complaints that are missing fields incorporated in that or not?
Yeah, Commissioner, through the chair, yes, absolutely. We make every effort, not only at the time of receiving the complaint, but throughout the life of the investigation. Even if we have failed to make contact or gotten follow-up with a complainant or a civilian witness, we continue to do so throughout the course of the investigation. If at some point they do choose to participate and provide additional information that is required that would be helpful in the investigation, we absolutely take that. I will also say, I think, as we've worked through the backlog, I even want to say going back to the beginning of 2025, it really has become, and it's a required standard process to interview every complainant where possible and where we can make that contact. So, within 3 days of receiving a complaint, we're obviously acknowledging that complaint. Within 7, we're assigning a case number, but we're also working to make contact to get that individual statement, to get every piece of evidence, or if there are other witnesses that need to be contacted as well. So we're trying to really make the most of those first 30 days. And that is also why, we do continue to have a number of cases that have gone past the required 30 days, because we are trying to do, as thorough of a job in those initial 30 days as possible. And sometimes a lot of that is waiting for a complainant or a civilian to make contact, or to return a call, an email, or some kind of contact attempt.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no further questions, I'll ask the clerk to receive and file the report. Thank you, Director. Next up is the monthly report from the Police Department's Internal Affairs Division. I'll invite Ms. Hastings to come up and present. I've allocated 10 minutes for this report.
All right. Good evening, Commission. We've got kind of a short presentation for you tonight. We're going to go over some staffing updates for IA, and then we're going to go right into our statistics and trends. Starting off with staffing, just an update again from last month. Our administrative support specialist position is still vacant. We did conduct first round interviews, but now we are scheduling second round interviews for the top candidates. And as mentioned again last month, we still continue to express that we do not have enough staff to keep up with the current workload of our unit, or projected workload that may come with any foreseeable policy changes or any training changes within MPD as a whole. Moving into IA statistics, unlike OPCR, we've got a very, very small amount of intakes actually in IA. So open intakes as of end of day in August 5th was 2 cases, the average age being 15.5 days old. That's from the date that we received it to the date Current date, our average duration to complete the intake phase, meaning from the day it comes in to the day that it gets routed, is 27 days. I believe last month we were a little bit above that, so I'm happy to see it come back down again this month. Open admin investigations as of end of day, August 5th, 2025. We had 53 cases. I believe that's up 3 cases from the last time we checked. I believe that was 50 cases. Our average age is 221 days. I believe that's down about 10 days from last month, so continuing to come back down again. 5 of those 53 are considered backlog. 13 of those 53 are considered non-compliant cases, meaning they're over 180 days old. And then 35 of those 53 cases are considered current cases, meaning they're under 180 days old. 50 of those 53 are assigned, and 3 of those 53 are unassigned. Currently, again, as I mentioned last month, we went through a pretty big staffing turnover. So these 3 cases are still, even as this week, unassigned as we wait for some of those staffing members to complete their training so that we can divvy those out. Moving on to expedited disposition cases. As of August 5th, we had 35 cases. I believe today, the last time I checked, we are below the 30s and we're in the 20s now again today. So in just 1 week time, we're down to the 20s again. But as of August 5th, 2025, we had 13 that were considered part of our backlog. I'm happy to report that today we have 1 of those 13 that is considered backlog. So we put a very large effort in the past week to making sure that those 13 backlog expedited cases were finished and turned in for supervisor review. As for our non-compliant cases, we have 16 of those 35, meaning they're over 180 days old. And then again, 16 of those 35 are considered current cases, under 180 days old. Moving on to our main part of our backlog, we have cases in supervisory review, meaning it's either with us, with City Attorney's Office, or with our unit head. We have 146 cases as of August 5th, 2025. And just a caveat, that does include both administrative investigations and expedited dispositions in that number. We have 63 of those 146 are considered backlog, 72 are considered non-compliant cases, and then 11 are considered current cases under 180 days. Moving on to our Chief's Office statistics. As of the end of day, August 5th, 2025, we did not have any cases that are currently at the Loudermill hearing stage. Moving on to cases currently at Chief's Office. We have 27 administrative investigations that are at Chief's Office. This does not include the total amount of cases that are expedited dispositions that are at Chief's Office. It's only administrative investigations. Moving on to grievances. For administrative investigations, currently with a discipline-related grievance, we have 4 cases. And then vice versa with our arbitration, our discipline-related arbitrations, we have 3 cases at that stage. Moving forward, just continuing to have this slide applicable. Any discipline decisions made by the chief on or after June 8th, 2020, per our settlement agreement, is what will show up on this dashboard. In order for a case to show up on this dashboard, the case has to be closed and completely finalized. It does need to then go through a period with City Clerk's office and with City Attorney's office to make sure that we redact any personal or private information in that report before it does get up onto this dashboard. So just note that the day that something is closed and finalized is not the day that it will go up on this dashboard. There is a period of time that occurs between the day that it's finalized and the day that it shows up on this dashboard. Moving on to intake data. This graph looks a little bit different this month, just simply because we only have those 2 cases. So below, you'll just see we have 1 intake that was in progress that occurred in July 2025, and then 1 occurred in April of 2025. Again, intake data, again, it looks a little bit weird this month, just with the 2 intakes. We have 1 that occurred in Precinct 2 and 1 that occurred in Precinct 1. Moving on to our investigation, these are our administrative investigations by incident date. Again, we're starting to see those lower numbers in the 2020, 2021, and 2022. But as OPCR Director Fujisawa said, obviously we are going to see the caveat of the rising numbers in 2025 as we move through the next months. And the last thing, might not be the last thing, administrative investigations out by precinct. You will note that at least this month, Precinct 1 currently has the highest percentage of incident locations. Our IA backlog update since October 2024, we are back down to those 5 backlog admin investigations. That number is still current as of today. We're still working through those 5 admin investigations. Moving on to percentage of backlog cleared. Just a reminder for everybody, cleared means it is entirely closed. There are a variety of different statistics that we keep, such as when the case is actually done with our office and moves then into review panel or chief's office. That uses a different terminology, but cleared means all the way at the end. When it is fully closed, it is fully finalized, and it's done. So given that definition, right now we are sitting at 52% of our backlog has been totally cleared, meaning it is completely finalized. And that is all.
All right, thank you. Any questions? No questions? All right. Thank you very much. I'll direct the clerk to receive and file that report. Next up is the monthly report from the Police Department's Implementation Unit. I don't see Lieutenant Robinson, but I do see Commander Wilkes. So I'm wondering if we're having Commander here to begin the presentation. I'll allocate 10 minutes for this presentation.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. Good evening. So I don't see it. I always need help. No, they said it was there. So.
Oh, they said it is there.
But it's not.
Oh, okay. I can put it on here real fast if you want to. Just give me a minute.
Okay. It won't take 10 minutes, so.
Okay. You want to just go ahead?
Yeah, I'll just get started. I'm Commander Yolanda Wilkes with the Implementation Unit. I oversee the implementation. I'll just get started and then we can catch up with the PowerPoint. So on the agenda today, we're just going to go over just a couple key things just to highlight community engagement, health and wellness, policy, training, and data. Just going to touch on it briefly. Within our community engagement, I'm not for sure if you guys are aware, but our community engagement team, some of the members have transitioned and went to other departments and elsewhere, so we are completely, pretty much starting to scratch and rebuilding our community engagement, along with some other members of our team. With any team, there's some likelihood of turnovers, and we have had turnovers within the unit, just at better positions, better hours, and whatnot. So community engagement, that was one that hit us pretty hard. With that, there's some previous engagement that we have conducted that we're hoping to get started, or to start back once we rebuild that unit. We have mentorship program. We conduct a community survey, and that's pushed out through different platforms, Facebook, various social media platforms, Instagram, X, and more. Some of the other things we do currently, I have Lieutenant Robinson. He's assigned to the CCPO policy sessions, and he attends those. Previously, for the community engagement, it was Kevin Carlisle, who went over to civil rights. I'm going to try to do this. And then there's a, is that correct?
Time out. How do we get it on the screen, Carrie?
There we go. Just got to make it bigger.
Is that a PowerPoint or is it a PDF?
Looks like a PDF.
I can just talk to,
Long as
just
the
so you know, I
community
can just talk,
gets-
yes, no worries with this. So, and then there's other community events that we attend as well. Upcoming for us, tomorrow, August 12th, 2025, we have our public community engagement follow-up session. That's going to be at PSB, and I'm excited about that. This is going to be a follow-up to the 2023 community engagement where we solicited all the feedback due to the MDHR and MPD settlement agreement that we entered. So we're hoping to give a good update. It's been a long time. It's been about 2 years now. Just a long haul, long process with Minneapolis. Collecting the feedback. The next thing I was going to talk about is just the officer wellness and support. So currently, right now, we have a new peer support members who completed some initial training, but before we can train it or roll it out to the department, we have to create the policy, and that policy has to be approved. So right now, the peer support training is being conducted by our vendor, Wellness That Fits, and that program or the training that's going out to the department is put on hold until the policy is approved. Once that policy is approved, I don't know if you guys are aware, but we recently posted it online for public feedback. We got that, we closed the feedback portion, and now we're considering that feedback, and we're working through the policy process, which can take time. Thank you. And then if you look over on your right, we did have an MPD Summer Field Day that was supposed to take place on August 9th, but it was postponed due to the weather. We have an upcoming date tentative for September 20, contingent upon the weather. Now we get to the policy update here, because I just wanted to touch on that briefly. We recently have approved policies through ALIFA, use of force, crisis intervention, mission, vision, values, and goals of the department, non-discriminatory and procedural justice, and emergency medical response. When you look at that second column, engagement and review, just so you guys are on the same page as me, where you see an asterisk, that means that it has already went through the community engagement feedback portion, and that's where we posted for 30 days, and then we consider the feedback. If there's not an asterisk in the middle column, it is currently posted right now and is open for feedback. So the discipline matrix and quarterly review panel, and we've already started to see comments come through. Where you look at the drafting and technical assistant on the far right for me, this is where we are currently. We're in the beginning stages, so we're planning, we're sitting down with the key members, key players, bringing them to the table, in addition to all the other work that we've already started and we're in the process. So this here on the right can take some time, but we're already starting the process, and we got it on the docket. As far as the training update, and I've heard some comments earlier, we have, you guys know, policy is not a policy until the whole department has been trained. And so use of force, we have had that policy, we have had day 1, day 2, and we started day 3 use of force training, but we had a transition within the training department. And so recently we had to transition our instructors to a new instructor. So right now we're starting back at square one, where we have to get them acclimated to the use of force curriculum, so that he's able to continue the teaching. So with that can delay the process as well. So just want to put that out there. So where you see drafting and review, these are currently the trainings that they're in the process of creating and working through. And then far to the right, to be worked on, again, like I stated before, to be worked on can mean a couple different things. It's coming up soon, but it's not being worked on yet, or we started to bring the key players to the table so we can figure out what's needed for that training curriculum itself. And it could be that we're pending the policy capacity, because, again, it takes a lot of us to come to the table to create these policies and these trainings, and most of the time we're taking the same people to do the same thing, and we're pulling them in multiple ways. So to be worked on, that can take some time, because we're still working on the other policies and trainings that you see listed here. And just moving on to this data system update here, the data system plan was approved, and we started to execute that plan. When we look at the current system that we have currently, we have been working with ALIFA on making minor tweaks of our improving what we can to the system that we currently have, but we come to the understanding that our systems that we currently have cannot do what the settlement agreement and consent decree is requiring. So that calls for an overhaul of the systems that we currently have, and we're in the process of looking at our systems and how we can accomplish that, the parameters of the consent decree and settlement agreement. So that's going to take some time. That's going to be a big haul. When you look at under published reports down there, we've published a violation report in April, and it's located at that URL. And if you look over to the right at the use of force dashboard, here's an example of the current use of force dashboard, and we are currently working on that dashboard. And as promised, I'll wrap this up here and apologize for the technical assistance I needed. Our short term here, we want to just keep on working on the policies, collecting feedback, looking at the feedback and taking in the community feedback, drafting training materials, and continue to conduct approved training once we get the training approved. And then we're going to monitor the implementation of both, and we're going to continue to increase transparency by communicating. But again, we're rebuilding that community engagement part of our arm that goes out and reach out and can help us and assist in being transparent as we want to. So I think that's it for me. If you guys have any questions.
Commander Wills, can you please state the community engagement session tomorrow, the date, the time, the location, that type of thing, just over for the public, what room number, et cetera.
So I'm going to mess up this room number. I got it on a piece of paper, but it's PSB building, Public Safety Building, downtown here, I believe room 100. It's the first room to the right when you go in the door, in case I'm wrong. The doors are going to open at 5:30. It's going to start at 6 o'clock.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from commissioners?
I have one, and you may not be prepared to answer this because it's really not in your presentation, but referring back to Ms. Hastings' report, I was a little troubled by the number of cases that are sitting on the chief's desk. 27 seems like a lot, especially in light of how that's sometimes been used to delay accountability in other police departments. I don't know about Minneapolis, but do you know if the consent decree speaks to the amount of time the chief has to process? And I'd love to have Lily too, but and is that unusual?
Yep, I can speak to that. So per the settlement agreement, technically the chief does have 30 days from the date that he receives the case file from review panel with the completed recommendations in order to complete a review. Regarding the cases that are currently sitting at chief's desk, what I will say is there is a lot of administrative steps in between that isn't just getting the case reviewed by chief. Realistically, that's our easy part. That's like one of our first things that we get done. The not so easy part is trying to make sure that all the chief's memos get drafted, those get reviewed by city attorney's office, they come back, they get filed, they get everything signed, we notify the focus officer, and then we start working through the publication steps. So the vast majority of where that backlog is those administrative tasks rather than the cases that are sitting on his desk.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yep.
Any other questions? All right, we've exhausted time, and I see 3 hands. If one of the ladies would like to make a motion to extend time.
I can do it again.
Okay.
For the 3rd time's a charm.
Seconded. We need a
5
vote.
minutes.
5 minutes, thank you.
Seconded.
All right, then motion is seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Did you have to?
I would like to make a friendly amendment to that. I saw quite a few hands for questions earlier. I would like to say 10 minutes for this because I think there's quite a few questions about this one.
Commissioner Newman, do you accept?
I accept 10 minutes.
Commissioner Baker?
Accept.
All right, 10 minutes. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Now, please raise your hand again because I don't see who had the hand raised first. I'll start here, Commissioner Shanfield, then I'll go here, we'll go back and forth. Commissioner Shanfield.
Thank you so much, Commander Wilkes. Really appreciate the updates. Just clarification around the use of force training. 2 people, perhaps prior to when you arrived, 2 public comments were concerned about the officer who was leading the trainings, and it sounds like the delay is because that person was reassigned. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And then I'm just trying to make sure that I didn't quite understand whether all 3 days are going to be redone or just the third day.
The third day.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Stewart.
I have a question for you. The first one's super easy. On September 20th for the summer field day, are the times still the same?
So that's tentative, but they're possibly going to still remain the same, just the date is going to change.
Got you. And then my other question for you is you mentioned drafting and TA assistants. You kept mentioning key members. Who are they?
One more time, key members as far as in the drafting process?
Yep.
For us, the drafting process probably looks a little different. It's internally, we're getting the right people to the table. So if we're talking about EIS that touches health and wellness, implementation, and other folks, we're getting all our folks to the table first. And then we go on to, there's so many stages and so many phases, but before we get to technical assistance, that's asking other folks, ALIFA, for help. And for their expertise on direction or whatnot.
Do you guys ever include community in that part?
In the drafting? So the drafting for us won't include the community. It includes us collecting community feedback.
Okay.
So.
Okay. That was my question.
Commissioner Palmer.
Yes, I have a few questions here. Regarding the use of force policy, you said it was approved through ALIFA and that the day 3 training was delayed due to instructor training. You said they were being reassigned. So my first question, regarding Mark Hanneman, who infamously was the officer who murdered Amir Locke in 2022 within 9 seconds of entering the apartment, are they still a use of force instructor, or have they been out of that position and been reassigned with someone else?
Reassigned.
So they are not in that position
not
anymore?
in the training position anymore.
Okay. And one thing I wanted to ask now, I think it would make a lot of the public very happy to know that Mark Hanneman is not in that position anymore, but this was approved through Effective Law Enforcement for All, who is helping monitor the consent decree. It also says that you want to continue to advance policy, and part of that is through getting involved with community engagement and community feedback. What was the feedback like for even getting Mark Hanneman in the first place, as I think the public outcry that happened since then indicates that that would not have been a popular decision? And is that something that's being included in when you're continuing to advance these policies and working with ALIFA to approve these policy changes?
I want to make sure I understand the question, and I didn't quite understand it. Are you asking what kind of community feedback we conducted before putting Mark Hanneman in that position?
Before he was appointed into that position, and going forward now that he has been out of that position and been reassigned with someone else.
So
to
honestly,
ensure
I
that there is
can't.
community engagement.
So honestly, I can't speak to before he got into that position. I was in a position afterwards, and so I can't speak to that. But going forward, I believe the chief. We sit down with the chief and we make all the decisions together as far as who's going to be in place and positions. So I can't speak to before.
That was all.
All right, Commissioner Newman.
Hello. I know some of us, or I should say a lot of us, majority, we've liked to be incorporated in some of this MPD training sessions that are happening. Just wanted to keep that open and a conversation that we continue to have. So if you're able to bring that up and then circle back, because we want to be in, a lot of these, we've been to the LEFA meetings and some of these that are being updated and stuff, and I know they have a lot of important factors as well, but we would like to physically be in those sessions with MPD officers and being trained as well at the same time, not just to observe the officers, but to see what the officer, what it all entails.
Thank you.
And also, we asked to be incorporated in some emails. So if we can be in some of these community engagement emails, just what's coming to come, just so we are able to prepare to be present in some of these meetings as well. And maybe we can be invited to have a table that's there, or to have an opportunity to speak and discuss too, some of our stuff here. So, because when we were talking to Kevin, it made it seem like we need to reach out to certain folks in order to be added to the list, but we were like, we should just be added to the list, period, because of our positions as commissioners here, so, and not have to reach out to certain folks, and he was like, email this person, email that one. So if it's possible, I don't know if Ms. Shaw can send you that information or incorporate together, but yeah.
Hi, Assistant City Attorney Sam Fellini. It's a Gov delivery service, so I can show you it after, but it's on the implementation website. There's like a link and you put your email in, and then you can check all the boxes of like anything that you want to get, because I even signed up for them to make sure it was working. So you put your email in, and I'm happy to show everybody here how to do it, but also for the public who are watching or who are present, when you type MPD implementation unit into Google, it'll give you like an actual City of Minneapolis page, and on that page, I believe it's down towards the bottom, and it's called like Gov Delivery or Subscription Delivery, something like that. And it's just a box, and you click subscribe, and you'll get everything. You'll get every time that a policy is posted for feedback, every time that they're having their community engagement sessions, all the stuff that they're doing, you'll find out about it through that automatic email system. So I'm also happy to show you exactly where it is after this too.
Thank you.
If I could just add before Commissioner Baker, it might be helpful just when you do an invite, it's helpful to get an actual email for CCPO commissioners, because we may see that before we may see a Gov delivery email, and we want to have the commissioners present in community when they're having these sessions. And I know when they did that, several commissioners were able to show up to the LIFA meeting because we got a separate email saying this is going on. So that would be helpful, just for your knowledge. Commissioner Baker. Thank you.
Two questions. I believe you mentioned that the meeting tomorrow is following up from a meeting from 2 years ago. Did I catch that correctly?
Yeah, the initial community sessions we had for the settlement agreement, when we introduced the settlement agreement.
Okay, that just seems like a very long gap between following up.
So we've been having meetings in between follow-up meetings, but this is just more so where are we at with policy, since we solicited all that community feedback. And so that was a couple years ago, and we said that this was going to be a long process. So just talking about that process and what it entails.
Okay, thank you. And then my other question was with the training. When I saw that news, I looked to see if there was a policy around making that staffing selection, and there doesn't seem to be. Is how the public's going to perceive a staffing decision part of the decision-making?
Is the public a part of the decision-making?
Yeah, I mean, choosing to have a officer who was involved in that particular act, or any that act that notable, to be leading training undermines years of work of community engagement to try to build confidence. I mean, I was embarrassed to be on this board when I read that morning. And I think everybody I have spoken to in my life has been horrified by that. And I don't understand how that wasn't a consideration when they decided who to do the training. And if it's not a consideration, that seems like a policy failure, which we all collectively need to address. So is it a consideration is my question.
So I can go back and look through policy, but I can't give you a definite answer that it's a consideration and circle back.
Okay.
All right.
I think we need to discuss that in our policy recommendations.
Commissioner Bartz.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to second Commissioner Newman's comment about access to trainings. I think it could help in terms of transparency and building trust, especially with the concern around certain trainers right now. And then another question, I read the FTO, Field Training Officer, draft policy, and that includes criteria for selecting field training officers. I'm just wondering if there's consideration into making that applicable retroactively to re-evaluate current trainers based on those criteria.
Chair, Commissioners, it's definitely something I could bring back, and then I can follow up.
Thank you. There is one more question. Commissioner Stewart would like to make a motion.
Can I make a motion to extend the time for just 2 minutes, you guys?
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been motioned and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Commissioner Stewart.
I just have a quick question for you. I recently was able to have a conversation with a former MPD officer, and in our conversation, one of the things that kept coming up was his mental wellness. And I would like to know from you on how we as community members and people that are inside of our wards, especially for me, being in Ward 8, where George Floyd was murdered, and this particular officer was on that scene that day, and he walked into our office and he just needed to talk to someone that wasn't going to be like biased, I guess, so to speak. My question is, how are you guys handling your mental capacity, and how are you guys implementing that with community? How is your well-being being addressed, and how is it being addressed with community?
Chair, Commissioners, that's a good question. I think we need 5 minutes for that. But if we're talking about me, but I would say that wellness with fit, the new vendor that we have, I think all of those things are being talked about with that vendor group. How are we going to implement this new program, the training, this peer support? I think we're developing those things right now as we speak. I think it's been encouraged through Minneapolis for people to take care of themselves, their health and wellness, and put themselves first. But how are we incorporating the community? I think by getting these messages out, saying where we're at in the process, talking about this policy, talking about wellness that fits, so that we're bringing everybody on board. So when we start to communicate that out to the community, then they'll see exactly where we are at with our officers as well. And I think, like you just said, having that open door, because on both sides we're struggling. Right? We're struggling, and then just trying to meet somewhere in the middle. So I don't know if that answered your question, but we're going to continue to be transparent. But just with this new group, I think the first thing we have to do is establish policies so that we can get the rollout rolling. So,
all right. Thank you very much. I'll direct the clerk to receive and file that report.
Thank you.
Next, we have a report from the Community Engagement Committee from Chair Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll invite other committee members, including the Vice Chair, Commissioner Stewart, to add to this report. We had a very well-attended Community Engagement Committee meeting. We were building on our strategic planning discussion and focusing on strategies for community engagement for this commission. We had some good discussion about the wide variety of needs for engagement, as well as balanced by the capacity and resources that we can bring to bear. We identified several priorities that we're recommending to the commission, and we'll continue to build out and do this work. The first involves increasing our visibility within the wards we represent, specifically to neighborhood organizations and other community events. And so we'll have some targeted recommendations and strategies around that visibility to neighborhood organizations and other community organizations within your ward and throughout the community. Also building on ward council member newsletters as another communications vehicle. Secondly, we wanted to make sure that every member of this commission is well equipped to go out into the community and represent this body with core kit of information, a summary of our charge and our mission, what our challenges have been and what some of our achievements have been, so that we can bring that message out to the community and everyone feels like they have the kit, the equipment to do that. Finally, we think it's important to highlight the work of this commission on the review panels. We think there needs to be more transparency, not in any way discussing individual cases, but aggregating the information and reflecting on the experiences so that we can process together what that experience has been like, both the strengths and the challenges, and share that out with community in an effective way. So we've named that as a priority. We know there's more work that needs to be done about that. Related to that, we discussed the idea of 2 resolutions to bring back to this body. The first concerns when the chief departs from disciplinary recommendations from the review panels. And you'll see even in the packet tonight, there is one example where the chief is deviating or departing from the panel's recommendation in discipline. our discussion, and it'll be the recommendation in the resolution, that we request that the chief provide a written explanation anytime he decides to depart from the panel's recommendations, either on merit. My understanding is currently if he disagrees about whether or not there's merit, he will explain it. I don't think we've seen those explanations yet. But he also should explain, the chief should also explain when there's a departure from the discipline that's recommended. We think that'll go a long way to bringing more transparency and community understanding and trust of this process. Secondly, we also have had some initial discussion with some of the sworn members who participate in the panels, and thought that if we are going to have some kind of processing or discussion about the disciplinary panels, the sworn members could contribute to this discussion in some way also. They don't have the authority to do that on their own, so this body could request the chief also to authorize their participation. So my understanding is that the PPRR committee will be looking at those resolutions, and hopefully this body will look at them in September.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Stewart, did you want to add anything? Or?
The only thing I would add is that we're looking into a platform on how we could bring forth the review panel. If it's through digital, like when we did the recruiting video, or if it's another way, but we're looking into that. That's the only other thing I would add.
Okay, thank you. Any commissioners have any questions? Madam Attorney.
Hi. I just wanted to let you know with regard to your departure resolution, I would encourage you to look at consent decree term paragraph 232, section I. It specifically states that it requires any departures by the chief from the presumptive discipline, including any downward departures from the minimum discipline, to be justified based on the facts and circumstances of the situation and documented in writing. So I would just encourage you to keep that in mind as you proceed with your process.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Smith.
If I could just respond to that, because I think that's a very helpful suggestion, and certainly I've noted that. But somehow, I don't think all the information is flowing all the way to this commission. So somewhere from the chief's memos, we need to track down the process and ask that that information be brought forward to this commission.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? All right. Commissioner Kennedy, and just knowing that we have expired time, you're welcome to make a motion.
I would make a motion for 1 additional minute.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Commissioner Kennedy.
I feel the pressure of this being worth it now, even with 1 minute, because it's not a question, but it's more of brainstorming. I'm not a member of the Community Engagement Committee. I'm very excited by all the things I hear about happening there. I particularly am excited about the idea of arming us with a way to go to neighborhood association meetings and members of the community and explain what's happening, because there's a lot happening behind the scenes here that I think it would be great to spread the word about. So my suggestion for you to think about is, I actually think maybe like a 5-minute, relatively short, like role play review panel that could be played as part of this community presentation would be very helpful, because the main limitation, for good reason, that we have with everything that happens in review panels is that it's all private data. And it gets very, academic and esoteric when we're just describing what happens there, but there's tremendously important and, great things that come out of those panels. So if we could create some fake situations and fake data that could be used to show the public what happens in those sessions, and show, a quick debate between community members and sworn officers and coming to a resolution, and which is, usually what happens there. It's usually a very collaborative process. I think it would help the community understand the work that happens here more than just a PowerPoint slide.
I know the panels have that wonderful video that gets played every time we do a panel. Perhaps city staff can make something along the lines that the community can see when people are talking to neighborhood associations. So it's definitely a good point in a video that's already being played to some extent in the panels in terms of what happens during the process. So thank you. Any other questions? All right. Thank you. I'll ask the clerk to receive and file that report. The next report is from our Police Policy Research and Recommendations Committee. That report will be given by Committee Chair, Commissioner Shanfield.
The resident nerd over here. Thank you, Chair. The CCPO's feedback on the early intervention system. Thank you to the body for allowing us to do that quickly and submit it on behalf. It was sent to you in email, but I'll give you sort of the high-level overview. What we saw in the policy, it's nearly 20 pages, and we spent a good amount of time, several hours, combing through it because this is something that hasn't existed, to my knowledge, in MPD before. And so there are other cities that have done this, and so we looked at a couple other cities. We also noted that one of the themes of our feedback was oversight. We think that a more robust accountability structure, including tracking the patterns of data at the unit level, not just individual officers for looking for patterns, would be helpful. And we also think that the that the annual assessment that needs to happen about the quality of it should be done by a third party or someone outside the city. We also wanted to underscore how important this is for maintaining trust. We really think that that would be key. We also ask that there be more terms that are defined, disclosing the actual thresholds for the alerts, and sharing the inputs of the algorithms used to trigger alerts if that's possible. And we also thought it would be important to continue to build bridges between community and officers and allow officers timely access to their own data. Another theme that we came across is implementation capacity. It's really ambitious in the policy, and it looks like more and more things are being required of supervisors, so it's more work. We didn't see anything that said, and these other things are being taken off your plate. And so we were wondering how realistic this is. Perhaps some kind of phased implementation would be helpful, or embedding some implementation guidance into the policy so that it's not left to post hoc interpretation. That would help it become more actionable and enforceable. The policy fills a need for the supervisors to intervene in concrete terms short of discipline when the risk of an adverse event is high. However, when a supervisor is responsible for the evaluation and discipline and support of a single employee, it could discourage open communication. The employee might fear that seeking support or sharing challenges with their boss and their supervisor, rather, it would negatively impact their evaluation and could lead to disciplinary action itself. So we believe that because supervisors are being asked to take on substantial responsibilities, they would benefit from a fair amount of training, as I'm sure is known by the department, support, and potentially reducing the workloads or finding ways in which additional capacity could help to sustain the EIS. We also think some guidance for supervisors on how to navigate these conflicts of interest would be really helpful, and regular progress monitoring would be a useful tool for transforming the culture of MPD. I will wrap it up here in a second, but the EIS is designed to provide members with individualized support, as we've been talking about officer wellness tonight, in a non-punitive and non-disciplinary manner. However, some of the EIS engagement strategies, like issuance of administrative days and change of assignment, seem to blur the lines between discipline and support. In several places, the draft EIS policy conflates non-discipline but punitive corrective action with non-disciplinary intervention and engagement strategies. We would foresee this coming to a panel and being troubling with this gray area. So we believe the policy would be stronger in articulating MPD's commitment to early non-disciplinary intervention by mandating advisable alerts rather than leaving them as optional at the discretion of supervisors and leveraging evidence-based engagement strategies that include counseling by licensed professionals. We didn't see that in the policy itself. The menu of engagement strategies, the actionable components of the MAPs, those are the plans for officers, should be built out in consultation with other specialists, behavioral specialists, change management, mental health professionals, and detailed in the policy so that we can hold ourselves accountable. Finally, we recommend extending the 30-day window for public comment for the policies that aren't required under the settlement agreement, such as this one. A minimum of 45 days, ideally 60, but would enable us to then bring the policy back to the body and allow us to complete the cycle and get everyone's input. And that 30-day window is really hampering that ability for everyone here on the commission to be able to provide their voice. We think we could provide the department with more robust and useful feedback that way. We also think that the longer review period would serve the community better, because especially those who may not be familiar with the intricacies of the policies or the process, we think it would allow for more meaningful engagement. I'm going to pause here and be saved by the bell.
Were there any questions for Commissioner Shanfield? If you all indulge me, Attorney Paulini, in terms of the 45 days, what does that look like? Is it possible, and what needs to happen if we were to make a suggestion such as that?
45 days for?
The policies that are not in the settlement agreement.
So my understanding from IU, I don't want to speak for them. I'll just say my understanding is long-term, they would like to have many more days to be able to give policy feedback. Based on current bandwidth and requirements and things moving forward, because they're only mandated to do 30 days for certain policies versus 45 for others, they're sticking to that 30 versus 45 right now. But my understanding is that is the goal long-term, to be able to expand that out and allow a lot more time for community feedback.
All right, thank you. Seeing no hands up for this report, I'll ask the clerk to direct and file PPRR's report.
Could I make a motion to extend just for 1 minute?
Second.
Extend for 1 minute.
Say it out loud, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'd like to make a motion to extend the discussion for, well, I'll say 2 minutes.
Second.
All right, it's been motioned and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Commissioner Shanfield.
First, I just wanted to thank Commissioner Smith for all his good work. We will look at those two thoughts, the resolutions that you suggested at our upcoming meeting on the 25th of August. And I wanted to provide some airtime for the rest of the committee, the PPRR committee, to see if anyone wanted to add, because I know I put a lot out there. So,
anyone? Commissioner Bartz.
I'll just say that a general pattern that I don't think I didn't articulate very well in our discussions, but I noticed it with this policy, and I believe one other, is that they're a little bit complex, and complexity in a policy kind of can lead to confusion. And I forgot who else brought that up, but that's just a general comment to the department, the implementation team, that there may be a few people trying a bit too hard. So this is not a critique, it's more encouragement, but just try to think in simple terms. But for example, there are numerous alert types in the policy that were a little bit confusing. And I compared it to Seattle's policy, which was a lot simpler. So that's just a general comment.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair Olson.
So a quick commercial for the members of the public. I think that comment came from a gentleman named Andrew Kleiss, who is not on the commission, but who attended the meeting, and we invited him to sit with us at the table and mark up and discuss, and it was really productive, and we appreciated his input, and I think it was a valuable exercise, and so if people in the public want to join the next meeting, it'd be great.
Thank you. All right, so we exhausted all time. Seeing no further hands, we'll ask the clerk to receive and file the report. Our final report is from the Governance Excellence Work Group. I will ask Commissioner Olson to speak to that topic.
I will speak to it, but in my role as vice chair, not as any leader in this work group, because due to conflicting calendar obligations, we haven't been able to meet, and so we haven't elected a leader. We are still working on the scheduling. I think it would be helpful to just reset what this group is going to do. because when I first started considering this agenda item, I needed to refresh myself. And I think the best articulation comes from our meeting minutes from the last meeting, which I thought were really excellent by the clerk's office. And we were discussing the development of a strategic plan. And we had 5 priorities. And then, this is a quote, "It was proposed to limit the number of strategic priorities to 3 instead of 5, governance, excellence, community engagement, and overseeing and supporting police reforms. The commissioners would have a clearer understanding of the purpose of the CCPO and have a more uniform answer to someone asking them what to do. Part of the proposal was to possibly create a governance committee. It will define how CCPO operates and governs themselves, works with the city, and communicates with the public. It was discussed whether a third committee was needed, or if the work could either be combined with the other committees or a work group could be formed. The commissioners want to be present and have the public feel seen. They can show up for different events the police department is putting on if it is noticed to the public, and no actions will be taking place by the body. Commissioner Shanfield moved to create a governance work group to determine if a third committee is necessary and to help create a theory of action." So those 2 goals are what the committee is, or the working group is going to do: determine whether a permanent committee is necessary and to create a theory of action, a theory of excellence for the commission. We have room for other members. The best way to get involved in this working group is to communicate with Melinda. We all have her email. And I'll note that these meetings are virtual, and so you can participate online rather than coming downtown.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any questions for Vice Chair Olson? All right, seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to direct and file that report. The next item on the agenda is the consent part of the agenda in the case synopsis. The next, we'll receive and file the OPCR case synopsis for June. I would like to note that there is a revised version, which includes a clarification that if the chief imposes discipline, the chief's memo outlining his decision will be published on the city's police discipline decision dashboard. I know many are interested in better understanding when and why the chief deviates from the panel's recommendation. These memos are published in full if the chief imposes discipline. Are any questions from the commissioners? I will note, I believe that's different from a short time ago. The chief's memos weren't online. I don't know when that changed, or I just didn't see them online.
I'm not sure what time you're referring to, but they're online right now.
Right, but I think like several months ago, they weren't there. Is this a recent change?
I don't think so, but
Okay.
I am also from several months ago.
Okay,
so
okay.
I can't be
All right.
sure.
Well, they're there now, so anyone who would like to see online from the public or in the audience or any of the commissioners, as long as a discipline has been imposed, which is actual discipline, you can see the chief's memo online. And I know Commissioner Smith, that might speak to part of the resolution that you were speaking to, but and we'll see what's online. So if there's no further questions, no comments, make sure I'm not missing anybody.
Do I need to make my?
I heard
to extend, or no? Can I ask a question about this?
Yep.
About the case synopses. I would love to entertain a few minutes of discussion about what people think we should do with them, because it seems like PPRR is a natural place to review them, perhaps at the full commission meetings as well, but I would love to hear other ideas of how we might use them. I'm sorry that Chuck's not here.
Does anyone have any thoughts on that? What should happen with the synopses other than just reading them? Commissioner Smith.
I appreciate the idea of having the PPR committee have a deeper discussion. I think some value would also be obtained if, as these are compiled, we have some summary statistics, so we can look at the decisions as a whole and understand trends. How many times has the chief departed, for example, or other statistical information would be helpful rather than just every month getting 1 or 2 summaries. I really appreciate they're being done. I appreciate the work involved, but ultimately, as a body, I think we want to get the bigger picture somehow.
Ms. Young, would you mind answering a question? So is it possible to do a synopsis of departing? So for example, we have a couple of months now that we can look at and just kind of do a running total. Number of cases that went to the chief's desk, and of those, this is the number that departed, and can that be presented in the OPCR report, for example?
Definitely. We're working on providing aggregate data to the body. However, the office is starting from scratch, and so we're building up our databases, and we have to make sure that we're doing a quality control on the data as well. And then it does have to be passed through the city attorney's office before it can be presented to the public.
Okay, thank you. Any other thoughts, Commissioner Champion? I heard someone, I'm sorry. Commissioner Clement?
Hey, so if I'm understanding this correctly, because we have not gotten any case synopsis, that means that the chief has agreed with every one of our decisions?
The last 2 months, I want to say, there's been case synopsis in the...
And you will only get those if you were on the panel that...
They're in the packet.
That's what this is. Got it.
Yep. Commissioner Sheffield.
I'm sorry to ask this again, but will you explain to us what your intention was for us to use these? The synopsis versus the summary, if that's a useful distinction for everyone.
Yeah, are you talking about the synopses provided in your packet and then the aggregate data that will be forthcoming? Well, the synopses were requested from the body of staff, and so that's why they're provided to y'all. That's not something that we have provided proactively. I think what would be most useful, like Commissioner Smith mentioned, is the aggregate data, so you guys have a bigger picture.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, so looks like we're good. All right, thank you very much. Finally, we have new business. I have called a special meeting of the full CCPO next Tuesday, August 19th. It's late, August 19th, 2025, to be held in these chambers at our normal meeting time at 6 p.m. The purpose of this special meeting is to give the full commission the opportunity to discuss the discipline matrix and any potential recommendations that may arise out of that discussion prior to the closing of the public feedback period. In accordance with Minnesota open meeting law, no other topics may be considered or acted upon during a special meeting, but for the agenda items explicitly stated in the meeting notice. There will be a public comment period at the beginning of the meeting, which each speaker being afforded 2 minutes to speak. Speakers also must limit their comments to the topic of the discipline matrix. A reminder to all, members of the public are always welcome and encouraged to submit individual feedback on the discipline matrix and any other police policies that are openly receiving public input. Policy materials and feedback submission instructions are available on the Minneapolis City website. Commissioners, please look over the draft discipline matrix and come prepared to discuss on August 19th. Our collective feedback must be received by August 29th, 2025. Are there any questions from commissioners? Commissioner Stanfield?
I'm hesitant to raise my hand. I want to make sure that airtime is shared. But I wanted to ask for the members of the PPRR committee that are present, would you be willing to look at, bring a short summary of one city, if you were assigned a city that is under consent decree, to sort of bring what that city does in comparison? It's a very short turnaround, but we had talked about it at our last meeting, so I just wanted to double check.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Any other questions?
I will send out assignments then, and we'll make sure that gets on the agenda so that we'll be able to present some sort of outside perspective on the discipline matrix, so it's not solely based on our opinions.
Okay, thank you. All right, seeing no further questions, I look forward to our discussion. Madam Attorney.
Yes, I just want to remind everyone in the public and online as well that the discipline matrix is posted now. You don't have to wait for the special. You're welcome. Please come to the special meeting, but you do not have to wait for it. The matrix is posted now. Your ability to provide feedback is available now all the way through August 29th. So please go ahead. Again, that's on that same implementation unit website. You can either send it through the form that's available there. You can also, I will double check, but I believe it's like police policy feedback or something like that email. That's available as well for larger feedback. And then obviously, please come on out to the special meeting on the 19th, and you can offer public comment at 2 minutes apiece as well.
All right, thank you very much. All right, with that, we've completed all items on the agenda for this meeting. Without any objection, the commission stands adjourned. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you.